guys.
How you doing, Sam?
Back up. Come on,
the
guys.
line.
Come on,
Right
back
here.
up.
There you
Thank
go.
you, guys.
Federal judge Louis A. Kaplan sent Sam Bankman-Fried, the FTX founder, to jail today. Before he walked out of the courtroom was the clank of the handcuffs they put on him. He had taken off his suit jacket and his tie, handed it to his lawyers along with some personal belongings.
How the mighty have fallen. Sam Bankman-Fried, herein referred to as SBF, is now in jail at the notorious Brooklyn Metropolitan Detention Center. That's right, he went from living in his parents' $4 million home in Palo Alto to the jail where Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell stayed, among other notorious criminals. In case you don't know who SBF is, he once ran FTX, was on the cover of Forbes, Fortune, and the New Yorker magazine, and was interviewed by the New York Times, CNBC, Bloomberg, and a golden boy among the British press. Well, that is until the crypto market cratered. People came looking for their money, and lo and behold, they discovered that $8 billion was missing. Turns out giving billions of dollars of precious investor money to a 30-year-old running a trading firm out of a frat house for crypto pirates while living with a girlfriend or two with no adult supervision turns out to be a bad idea. Well, who would have thought? So now that house of cards has fallen, SBF did what any Icarus does when they fly too close to the sun. They run back to mom and dad. And mom and dad arranged for $250 million for bail. Yes, $250 million of bail. Now, when you read the fine print, you discover that they never actually had to put up $250. They never even had to put up the 10% that most people have to put up for bail. Normally, to get a bail bond, a defendant must at least put up 10% of the money. Well, they didn't put that up either. Somehow, through legal alchemy, they're both law professors at Stanford, they managed to put up their home and with some friends figured out how to get their son out of jail without the normally requisite 10%. Hey, it's a nice trick if you can pull it off. According to my research, nobody knows really how they did it, but they did. The bail was set by U.S. Federal Magistrate Judge Gabriel Gorenstein. Remember that word, magistrate. It's important. So SBF got to go to Palo Alto. And if you've never been to Palo Alto, home of Stanford, it is nice. Not nice, but nice. It's freaking gorgeous and peaceful and lovely. This is the picture of the familial home. Now don't let the front view fool you. Here's the aerial view. Now at this point, he doesn't have many restrictions set by the judge on his bail. All he has to do is wear an ankle monitor. After all, he is out on $250 million in bail, and not buy anything over $1,000 without court approval. After all, he is accused of stealing $8 billion. And that's a lot of scratch. So he's home, and soon after, he starts pissing the court off. He was arrested December 13th. December 13th, and by February, he's back in court. Only this time, he's in court in front of the federal district judge, Louis Kaplan. Now, Louis Kaplan is not a magistrate, but rather a district judge. Well, what's the difference? Magistrates are selected by all the federal judges, and they basically handle the administrative tasks. Setting bail, conducting arraignments, when a defendant has to declare to the court whether they intend to plead guilty or not guilty, that sort of thing. But they generally serve anywhere from 4 to 8 years. And then they have to be reappointed to their position by federal judges. Federal district judges are appointed by the President of the United States and serve for life. They are permanently ensconced in power, period. They preside over trials, hand down sentences, and are basically almost almighty in their courtrooms. They're like little dictators of their courtrooms, with no one to answer to except their brethren in the appeals court and, of course, the Supreme Court. But generally, they rule the roost. Judge Kaplan is a district judge, and he didn't particularly care for the liberal terms of SBF's bail. To understand Judge Kaplan's aversion to SBF's bail, you sort of have to understand Judge Kaplan. Judge Kaplan attended the University of Rochester and then graduated from Harvard Law in 1969. He clerked briefly for a federal judge and then went on to become a partner at Paul Weiss, a very corporate, very Wall Street law firm where he was counsel to Philip Morris. He's run trials and sentenced terrorists to life in prison. He's run trials involving the mafia. But the most vitriol he's ever dished out was in a trial against Chevron. I won't bore you with the details, but he is a corporate lawyer through and through. Let's just put it this way. The lawyer that went up against Chevron, Stephen Donziger, ended up disbarred and in jail. The lawyer That's right. This guy was instrumental in putting the lawyer in jail who was suing Chevron for polluting in Ecuador. So yeah, this guy seems to have a soft spot in his heart for investors and a very nasty streak against those who hurt them. Well, as soon as SBF got back into court, the judge started asking about why he had a cornucopia of electronic devices available to him, even though his alleged crime involved computers. But what really seemed to get under his skin and the skin of the prosecutors were the constant interviews he was doing with the national press, as well as with major media figures such as Michael Lewis of Liar's Poker and Moneyball fame. On top of that, SBF didn't help himself by using software such as VPN software that could basically mask what you were doing on the internet from all the world. All you have to know is the PN in VPN stands for private network. Yeah, let's just say courts don't like people out on bail doing anything that masks their activity from public view. So yeah, Judge Kaplan was not happy. Even at his first infraction, he floated the idea of revoking bail, but he didn't. He invited both sides to come up with more restrictions, and the restrictions weren't even that onerous. He basically barred SBF from using certain apps like VPNs, but also allowed him to use others. Also noteworthy is that it did not forbid him from talking to the press. But SBF should have known the judge or the prosecution didn't like it. It wasn't explicit that he couldn't do it, but even a dog can tell when a person is mad. And SBF should have realized that the court did not appreciate his frequent press interviews, especially after the judge suggested revoking his bail without prompting from the prosecutor. But that day, he went back to Palo Alto. But by all accounts, he seems to have behaved. He abided by the electronic rules. Well, almost. He used a VPN twice more. The prosecution complained, and the judge was less than pleased. He then went on to do something that I dare say enraged the court. He gave an interview to the New York Times where he revealed the intimate writings of an ex-girlfriend who used to work with SBF at the crypto firm and turned state's evidence. He also reached out to a former colleague at FTX, the now bankrupt firm. Judge Kaplan, the former corporate lawyer turned mob sentencing jurist, had had enough. This contact with the press and exposing this young woman's intimate writings in a national newspaper and the call with a former employee amounted to witness intimidation, as the judge saw it. Judge Kaplan revoked his bail, and just like that, SBF went from living in a posh, lush, $4 million spread in Palo Alto to the Brooklyn house of detention. Yikes! So why does this matter to you? At the same time, it should be comforting and disturbing. It should be comforting knowing that the federal bench, when it comes to crime, can have a somewhat harsh face for everyone. I think it rubbed a lot of people the wrong way that if someone steals $500 from a bodega owner, they go to jail immediately. But if someone steals $8 billion, they get to go to another state, and not even have to put up the full amount of bail. But it should also rub us the wrong way in that it seems that the only people ever really protected with the full weight and force of the law are investors. You can lie to homeowners and defraud them of their homes, as happens with deed theft and as happened in the financial crisis. You can be the Sackler family, basically selling heroin to the country, creating a pantheon of pain, a decades-long dirge of death, and still walk around free in the world. But if you defraud investors, if you lie to the wealthy 1% that own 89% of all securities in the United States, well then, you must be taught a lesson. You must be put on the rack for all the world to see. So hurt the masses in a sophisticated way, and you can still survive. Thrive even. But hurt the rich, the wealthy, and the powerful, and they'll be held to pay. Hey, if you like this video, please like and subscribe. Smash that like button and subscribe. I would love to keep producing them, and your likes and your comments mean a lot to me. So please hit like and subscribe, and I hope to bring you more holistic truth soon. Take it easy.